Foresights TV with me, Isma. In the wake of the April 22nd Pahalgaon terror attack that killed 26 civilians, India launched Operation Sindoor on May 7, targeting what it termed terrorist infrastructure in Pakistan and Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. This escalated into 4 days of intense cross-border hostilities involving missiles and drones, pushing India and Pakistan to the edge of full-scale war. A ceasefire reportedly brokered by US President Donald Trump has since held for 3 days. However, beyond the quiet at the border, the conflict has redrawn critical red lines in India-Pakistan relations, casting a long shadow over regional security, diplomacy and nuclear stability. Here's a special report from Foresights TV. The chain of events was triggered by the brutal attack in Pahalgaon, where non-Muslim tourists were selectively targeted. India quickly blamed Pakistan-based terror outfits, claiming state support. In retaliation, Operation Sindoor was launched in the early hours of May 7th, with Indian armed forces carrying out targeted strikes on 9 locations across Pakistan and POK, including known terror hubs linked to Jaish-e-Mohammed and Lashkar-e-Taiba. India's strikes hit urban targets in Muzaffarabad and Kotli in POK and for the first time since 1971 targeted Pakistani Punjab, striking Bahawalpur, Mudike, Shakargarh and Sialkot. These unprecedented strikes marked a significant expansion in India's military engagement beyond disputed Kashmir. The Indian strikes prompted immediate retaliation. Pakistan launched Operation Bunyan Marsoos, targeting Indian air bases and military infrastructure in Jammu and Kashmir, Punjab and Gujarat. Though both sides claim to have intercepted incoming drones and missiles, 4 Indian air bases reportedly sustained limited damage. The rapid escalation, which saw both nations targeting each other's strategic assets, not only shocked observers but also demonstrated that both sides have crossed historical thresholds of engagement. What followed was a dangerous cycle of aerial and missile exchanges. India's use of drones reached deep into Pakistani airspaces, including Karachi and Lahore, while Pakistan's retaliatory attacks targeted critical installations like Pathankot, Bees and Adapur. Amidst this military brinkmanship, US President Donald Trump publicly claimed credit for brokering a ceasefire, stating that trade leverage had pressured both sides into restraint. His remarks, particularly his offer to mediate the Kashmir dispute, upended India's long-standing insistence on bilateralism anchored in the Shimla Agreement of 1972. Unlike Pakistan's Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif, who acknowledged Trump's role, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi maintained that the pause in hostilities was a bilateral decision. He reiterated India's red line, stating terror and talks cannot go together, and declined to mention Trump, an attempt perhaps to preserve India's sovereign diplomatic stance. Yet, international voices are once again discussed a third-party mediator, a prospect India has historically resisted. Analysts warn this could revive external pressures India has long sought to avoid, especially as global concerns grow over South Asia's nuclear flashpoint status. India's response this time marked a significant evolution in its strategic doctrine. It moved beyond symbolic deterrence as in Balakot 2019 to a full-spectrum response targeting both terror and military infrastructure. Prime Minister Modi declared that India would no longer distinguish between terror groups and the state that harbors them, an ominous policy shift that potentially erases the distinction between militant and sovereign targets. Additionally, Modi's remarks rejecting nuclear blackmail point to a recalibrated nuclear posture. Until now, nuclear deterrence had shaped India's measured military responses. This time, India struck deeper and more decisively, suggesting greater tolerance for escalation below the nuclear threshold. The suspension of the Indus Water Treaty, another unprecedented move, added a new dimension to the confrontation. The 1960 treaty, mediated by the World Bank and considered sacrosanct even during previous wars, now hangs in balance. India's declaration that blood and water cannot flow together sends a chilling message to Pakistan, which depends on the western rivers governed by the treaty. Inflammatory rhetoric from Pakistani leaders, including threats of bloodshed, only deepened the standoff. Though both countries have since returned to a tense calm, analysts fear the situation is now more volatile than ever. With reduced diplomatic buffers, increased tolerance for cross-border force and broken red lines, the concept of armed coexistence seemed to define the current reality. The possibility of even a minor incident spiraling into full-scale war looms large. Experts like Praveen Donti and Srinath Raghavan warn that absent robust communication mechanisms, a single misstep or rogue attack could quickly escalate beyond control, especially with the nuclear dimension in play. Moreover, India's assertion that it reserves the right to act if Pakistan backslides on terror, paired with Pakistan's claim of sovereignty and retaliation capabilities, lays the foundation for a long, uneasy standoff. The operational doctrine on both sides now appear more aggressive with wider geographic reach and deeper penetration capabilities. The May 2025 hostilities between India and Pakistan sparked by the Pahalgaon terror attack may have ceased, at least temporarily, but they have fundamentally altered the South Asian strategic landscape. Operation Sindoor was not just a military campaign, it was a political signal that India will not tolerate provocation under the nuclear umbrella. The scope and intensity of the conflict marked a new baseline for retaliation and redefined the threshold of engagement. With treaties suspended, mediation norms challenged, and the renewed emphasis on punitive strikes, the crisis has left behind a region on edge. As diplomacy recedes and deterrence sharpens, South Asia stands at a perilous crossroads, one where peace is fragile and the path to conflict is dangerously short. That's all for today. Thanks for watching 4 Sides TV with me, Isma.